Monogatari is finished and I will be anticipating the next episode. But before we move on, of course, I want to reflect on a few things in the latest episode and this entire arc. First, my belief that Ogi represents Koyomi's regrets and is acting on behalf of him is further solidified by him arriving to meet Nadeko in Koyomi's car. He must have borrowed it without permission, right? The novel makes it more explicit, but I don't believe Ogi makes mistakes with reading people. Tsukihi probably being the only exception, but that stands to reason as the Phoenix is a force that cannot be controlled. So I don't think it was by any error that he drove Nadeko to Senjogahara's house, and the novel's Nadeko realizes this eventually too. She's been running scared from Senjogahara as her love rival and someone who she probably feels much shame from harassing. But Ogi has revealed to her where she lives and opened up an opportunity to make amends. I believe that's what Koyomi would want too. The conversation in the car, where he gives her somewhat vague advice, reminded me of Koyomi and Hanamonogatari, telling Kambaru that she's not wrong for feeling the way she does or doing what she wants to do in the pursuit of her own form of justice. I'm still working my mind around Ogi and Nadeko's discussion, but it feels once again like Ogi is doing what Koyomi would have done if he was there. Also, that scene was brilliant in giving us a chance to witness Wrath Nadeko even after her second demise. It really drives home the point that Nadeko isn't so much different as she's simply been growing up and learning how to better express herself. Nadeko's ending really reminded me of Koyomi's journey near the end of the main series, and it makes Ogi's presence in the story all the more meaningful. It's another story about learning to embrace yourself, quite literally. She does not defeat meek Nadeko with tricks, just as Koyomi does not defeat Ogi through a big showdown. They both face themselves, realizing that they cannot stay in the same place forever, clinging to the same joy or regret. They have to move on, taking the difficult path towards adulthood. I was so happy to see meek Nadeko finally part her bangs and throw herself into the arms of her future self. And this gives me greater appreciation for Nadeko as a character. Truth be told, Nadeko and Sodachi were my least favorite heroines in the main series. It was a little difficult to understand why, but perhaps Oshino explained it best. Because Nadeko was a victim. Because Nadeko allowed herself to become a victim. She was so passive, allowing people to think and do whatever they wanted with her, and never making any effort to clear the record or make it clear who she was or what she was about. It was infuriating to someone like me. Not that anyone who watches this video might know much about me. But I always reminded myself she was only 14, and Renai circulation is a banger. So I didn't entirely skip her story. I'm so glad that Nishio Ishin wrote an entire book to develop her beyond 14. Her story is one that many youths have to come to grips with. How to stop being a passive observer of your own life, and how to establish true agency over yourself. You can't let yourself be defined by others' expectations of you. Now, that's something I can actually relate to and understand. With this arc, Nadeko has become one of my favorite characters. Her world and her personality are so much richer now, and her various selves are no longer mistakes in continuity, but establish the key through line of her story. Speaking of someone establishing the key through line, Ononoki helping Nadeko with finding a job since she doesn't want to go back to school through Gaien was a great way to bring things back to the primary conflict of the story. It really makes sense why she didn't call for help earlier, and also why she provoked Nadeko into creating this problem for herself. There was one thing that I was looking forward to that didn't get adapted, but I understand completely why. It probably would have messed with the mood of the scene that they set up in the anime. I wouldn't mind seeing an alternate version though of present Nadeko swearing to meek Nadeko that she would love a man better than Araragi Koyomi one day. Novel readers, you know what I'm talking about. To wrap things up, Hanazawa Kana absolutely killed the performance, and I loved every minute of this arc. I can't wait for more. After the time we spent with her at the end, I really hope the next arc is Shinobu's. I suspect Koyomi's involvement in her going to Nadeko because of the donuts, but I'm glad that they were also able to tie up that loose thread in Nadeko's story because of how much Shinobu's words affected her and how much guilt she probably also feels about having hurt Shinobu when she was God Nadeko. This may just be me adding onto the pile of quote-unquote evidence that Ogi is acting out Koyomi's will though. If Koyomi's involvement here is true, it would make more sense that Ogi is trying to connect Nadeko and Senjogahara so they can make amends and get closure as well. I might be writing fanfiction at this point though, so I'll stop. Let me know what your favorite parts of the episode were.